All right, we are live. My name is Peter Brusso for the 101 Small Business Mastermind. And with us today, we have our standard fantastic cadre of people. Say good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Dick.
And say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Dick.
And you can all notice I don't have my lower 1/3 at the bottom, so I made my own. This has been a challenging day, so I'll just kind of talk over the top, maybe, I don't know, something like that. But what the heck, you know? Maybe Anonymous was attacking us too. I don't know, with everything going on. All right. First thing I want to talk about real quick. Got quite the show today. G Plus may be now more important than Facebook for social media marketing, because Facebook throttles back your posts. Only 5% of your entire people network will ever see your post, unless, of course, you pay to boost the post. So the organic way of being able to send stuff out for people to look at and get it really far out there in a network is gone. End of sentence. However, G Plus is not doing that. So spending your time building your G Plus audience right now might be very, very worthwhile for social media marketing, and to include LinkedIn. I'm getting more and more spam-y stuff out of LinkedIn, but you have a timeline, and I'm now starting to put our podcast in the timeline as well. So I think G Plus is one of the things we need to start focusing on from a social media standpoint, where it hadn't been that big a deal. Next, do you guys have any questions on that?
Yeah, is G Plus the same as Google Plus?
Yes, Google Plus is, G Plus is Google Plus, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot more on Google Plus, and I like it. I like the visual of Google Plus better than Facebook. But you made a great point. I got to start building my relationships following there, which I haven't been doing. That's a great point. So.
Yeah, that just dawned on me yesterday. Then I'm looking at this, just thinking, well, where do you go now? Because I'm working with a potential lawyer situation. Where do we go? And clearly, until G Plus figures out they can make money off of doing the same thing that Facebook is doing, well, we'll just wait and see. But there you go. All right, next, let me try to see if I'm so lucky I can share. No, I'm not that lucky. Let me get over and see if I can activate the page I want. There. And back here again. And I want to share, and there it is. Okay. Gentlemen, let me know when you've got my screen.
Yep, got it.
All right. This is really bad news. Microsoft's going to cut another 7,800 jobs.
Wow.
7,800 jobs because it looks like their Windows for handsets just isn't going to cut it. They missed the wave, and from the standpoint of them cutting 7,800 people, those are all tech jobs mostly. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're salespeople. Where are they going to go? And so one of the things that then I got thinking, I'm so glad I'm an entrepreneur. There's no place to hide in these big businesses anymore. But I know that I can keep my own self being fed by doing what I do. And I'm not going to fire myself. So, but 7,800 jobs gone, okay?
Wow.
And that's crazy.
And these are what Obama calls high-paying jobs.
Yeah, these are, of course, the jobs that they all want to import people with education for, the B-1B visas. And that's just all junk, that whole concept. I heard yesterday or the day before, most of the computer and IT graduates, less than 2 in 10 get a job. 2 in 10.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was shocking. And all the engineers that they're looking for, they're not looking for engineers. They're not hiring them anyway. So it's dismal in those areas, yet they keep claiming we have a big lacking of that. I don't see it, but if you tell a lie, what did Hitler used to say? You tell a story long enough and hard enough, people will believe it's true.
Right.
Even though it's not.
Yeah. But Peter, just along those lines of the layoffs, I just saw this morning that the new claims for unemployment, they were hit 297,000, the highest it's been any week in a couple of years. And then I really, the thing I've been worrying about in a lot of ways is the I think, inflated stock numbers. And now with Greece and Puerto Rico going, look like they're going to go under. China's stock market is down over 40%.
Oh my God, it was 30 yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the stock markets work. They balloon these things out arbitrarily, then they self-correct, collapsing.
Absolutely, and that, and they were doing a lot of things to inflate the market, and I won't quote it because I forget the facts of the amount of high-tech companies that are at stocks are at or near all-time lows. They quoted 3 or 4 that were near all-time highs, and one I can remember was Facebook. But I've talked about it before, and frankly, I've had some debates on it. But I got worried because this market is high because there's who was it? Was it Greenspan says something about I forget the quote, but the Fed has pumped up this market by putting money into it for 2-3 years now, and somewhere along the way there's going to be a correction, and I really it's a little bit off topic, but I'm afraid that it's coming, and it could come pretty quickly. So
yeah, no kidding. Okay, next on my list, let me see if I can share this one. Tell me when you got my screen.
Got it.
All right, this is now Microsoft lures developers, okay, which of course are independents, right, solopreneurs, to build the Microsoft band with the new web tiles tool and the cloud APIs. And so they're going after, this isn't a watch, but it's like a fit band, like BitFit or Fitbit. But here, these guys are entering the market, maybe a little on the late side, but with the power of Microsoft and without the 7,800 jobs dragging their butt down, they might actually make some headway here. But this is pretty cool. Again, another wearable, and we are going to wearables now. What's going to happen? I predict once we get these wearables in a common day for us, ads will start on these things. You watch, okay, and deals. Particularly like a Groupon deal as you're walking by, and it has that particular restaurant or store has a Groupon deal, you can get notifications. Of course, it'd be subscription based, but anyway, that's starting to happen. So that's pretty clever. Okay, well, let me get back over here, and let's see. I don't want to share that yet. Let me get back over to my next share. And this is Frank's favorite thing to talk about, usually. And I want to share this one. Let me know when you got my screen.
Got it.
Uber, an Ubercopter. Because driving from Nice to Cannes is for peasants. And so here, Uber is now, and that's a Robinson helicopter. Uber's now branching out into flying people, from one place to the other as an air taxi. So what's next for Uber? I'm sure in the water areas are going to have Uber boats, and they might be even autonomous Uber boats. Who knows? But isn't how cool is that, huh? Here's Uber in a helicopter.
Yeah.
And,
you want to put that back up for a second, can you?
Oh yeah, I can. Hang on. Maybe.
I was just reading the paragraph below it, and it kind of confirms what you've been saying for a while now about the mobile. You see, if you're not reaching, engaging, and monetizing customers on mobile, you're likely losing them to someone else. I guess they've got an
Oh,
8th annual Mobile Beat conference going on.
right. And I'm gonna show the next piece is about mobile and Mobilegeddon.
Yeah.
Let me get over here again, and I need to get. Now this is interesting. Now this we had remember when Mike Taylor came on and talked about native
Yeah.
and native advertising. And let me know when you got my screen.
Yep. Got it.
Native ads are replacing banner ads on mobile, and here's why.
Well.
Yeah, wow is right. So, this is sponsored by Moby, but basically, when people are reading, the ads come up at the bottom of the screen. They're always annoying, and basically, what we've done is we've actually blanked out in our mind. We will not look at that area of the screen. So they're first too small to read. There's all that. It doesn't, and they don't always correlate with what you're reading, what you're interested in.
Yeah, that's me. That's a very true statement.
Absolutely
I blacked them out.
And so now they're going to move native ads, what they call native ads, that are essentially, what do I want to say, have an affinity for what you're reading. And that's not only smart, but that will start to make banner ads actually work. Because me, people try to sell banner ads to my clients all the time, and I just say don't do it because I don't believe they work. I mean, has anybody actually wanted to click on an ad? We all accidentally click on the ad.
Yeah.
And they talk about that in here too for fat-fingered people. But these native ads are going to offer greater flexibility in positioning and style, which will be nice. And they'll have higher returns, essentially, and they'll outperform banner ads, which have been shown to be fairly true. And here, the fat finger clicks are 50%.
Wow.
So, but the native ads will be more eye-grabbing, relevant to the material, and that's heading down the pike here, which I think is pretty cool. And so mobile is, again, going to play even more of an important thing. And since I'm going to talk about mobile, let me get over to where I want to share.
On that native ad thing, just a comment. It wasn't an ad, but I'm looking to get a Mr. fan for my patio. So when it's 110, I might be able to sit out and enjoy the view. And so I Googled it, and within 20 minutes, I got an email from Walmart about cool dressing for the summer.
Yeah.
Clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, cool.
Oh, based on cool.
Yeah, cool clothing for the summer. So that's kind of where it's going.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, you have a hose, right?
Yeah.
And do you have a screw-on nozzle that you can spray and it stops?
Yeah.
And you got a defender, so you just poke holes in the freaking hose and it'll mist all over the place. You don't need anything. And I gave you another defender last night that especially can poke in the holes.
That's right.
In there. What I was going to show was on Mobilegeddon. Mobilegeddon, to remind anybody who doesn't know what Mobilegeddon is April 21st, Google changed their algorithm to essentially favor mobile-friendly sites. Non-mobile friendly sites in search ended up on page 10. If you do a search on your mobile phone now, you'll see mobile friendly, mobile friendly, mobile friendly. Well, that's Mobilegeddon. And turned out that over 40% of the top websites in America were not mobile friendly, and they all got shoved to the back. Wow. Yeah. And what hey, you know what? One of our guys, Perch, theirs are not mobile friendly, not mobile ready. So he was one of the guys in the 40%ers. The top 40% got shoved, and it certainly made cost companies a lot of money, basically for lost revenue, and then to get the team rapidly charged up to go after, in some cases, change the whole website to make it responsive, mobile friendly. So, wow, the power of Google. That's all I can say. You know, and then finally, I want to go to the quintessential. You know me as an inventor, right? Okay, so I'm going to share this, and at first glance, you're probably not going to understand what it is you're looking at. Let me know when you got my screen.
Got it.
Someone fixed beer pong. Now, probably neither one of you have ever played beer pong before, right?
You know, I have played beer pong.
Oh, have you really?
Yes.
Jesus, Dick.
One time in my life.
Okay, well, the problem with beer pong is, in fact, you know, the ping pong ball bounces onto the floor and then it lands in, and you get dirty beer. So you're drinking beer off the floor, basically. Right. So these guys decided to go out and put up a crowdsourced funding. And so let me see. Let's see. The problem was unsurprising. Oh, Kickstarter, right. I was trying to find out which one they did. They put a Kickstarter project up. And this is called a slip cup. And it's clear. And what it does is it fits over or inside your regular beer cup, but just above the level of the beer. So it doesn't actually touch the beer. So the beer is always pristine, but the ping pong ball can still go in the cup.
You can see grass in it.
Yeah, well, in this case, you can see grass, a part of a bug, you know. And so they raised almost $4,500, more than the $70,000 initial goal in 20 days. So they raised. So they're raising this money. Now, whether they'll actually get to it or not, to build this, you know, produce these beer pong slips cups. But will it ever stop? I hope not. You know, who would have thunk that anybody would have thunk this out, and then go to a crowdfunding source like Kickstarter to get that going? And are both of you familiar with Kickstarter?
No, I was going to ask you. I've heard of it, but what's the motivation that white people would put $7,000 in?
It's very interesting because they all get ownership in the company, and in this case, for just $5, you'll get a pack of 20 slip cups delivered to your door by September, just in time for school. But in all of these Kickstarters, if you give $1,000, you'll get this thing and that thing, or a signed whatever. You know, if it's a gadget that actually is going to do something, you'll get the first of for $10K. And so people really love that idea of getting a certain amount of money or goodies or visits by the inventors or whatever off of Kickstarter. So that's pretty cool. But there you go.
I was watching TV this morning, and there was a family that had quintuplets, 5 girls, and they're using crowdsourcing to help them pay the expense of having 5. I mean, that's got to be a fortune. Now, why would someone, other than altruistic reasons, throw money into that pot?
Again, the possible getting in on a business on the ground floor and owning stock, you know, for pennies. In comparison, and I mean, people do films, full budget films on Kickstarter, or maybe Frank won't be with us next week, so maybe Dick, what we'll do is we'll have a Kickstarter, whole Kickstarter session, and we'll look and see all the fun stuff and let everybody know what Kickstarter is all about.
Yeah, that'd be great. That I'll learn too.
Yeah, me too.
On the quintuplets, quite a few years ago, there was a family in Canada called the Dions.
Yeah.
And they had 5 daughters, and the kids called the Dion quintuplets. Right. Went and did a lot of promotion and so forth, and I guess the family made quite a bit of money. So that's the only thing I could think of, Dick, was the Dion quintuplets out of Canada. Yeah.
All right.
Well, just a quick side note on it. They had 5, I forget, they look like maybe a month-old babies, quintuplets, all in baskets lined up in front of them, and the interview was maybe 5 minutes long. Not one peep out of any one of those 5 kids. It was amazing.
Wow.
All right, I think we are to the next part of our show there, Frank.
Hey, there's the magic tones of Peter Brusso and his orchestra. Thank you. Twin. This
Mr.
week in the
Producer.
news. Yeah, this week's twin, small business lessons we can grab from the headlines. This week's twin is, hey, Allie Webb. Thank you for your small business lessons. And there are 2 from Allie. And the question always is, who the heck is Allie Webb? Well, Forbes magazine recently called Allie the woman blowing hot air into millions of dollars. Okay. Allie is a 40-year-old mother of 2 living in the Los Angeles area. Before she had her kids, Allie had 2 careers. She was a hairdresser, and she was a public relations person working with stars like Faith Hill and Paul McCartney. But in 2007, it's about 8 years ago, as a new mom, Allie was going stir crazy, but she didn't want to go back to the daily grind of working at another hair salon. So Allie did something very clever. She started a business, and it was a mobile hair drying business. What the heck is that?
Yeah,
Allie would go to people's homes to blow out their hair. Just do the blowout. Just if they were going out to a party or a show, whatever it is. Allie did no advertising and built her clientele through referrals only, word of mouth. So while she was very busy doing this mobile hair drying business, between babysitters and gas money, Allie barely broke even. So it was not a success. She was stuck in what Allie herself calls mommy land. What is mommy land? She wasn't making any money, but she was getting out of her house and socializing. She called that mommy land. It was then that Allie had her aha moment. And she said, you know, if I could do this much business with no marketing whatsoever, how much business could I do with some marketing? So Allie contacted her older brother, Michael, who is a VP of brand marketing at Yahoo, and told him of her idea, and she wanted to borrow money from him to open up a brick and mortar store, salon, if you will. Well, Michael listened, and he was so impressed that not only did he invest his money, but he quit his job at Yahoo and joined his sister as a CEO of this new business, and they called it Drybar, D-R-Y-B-A-R. And Drybar's motto is, no cuts, no colors, just blowouts. That's all they did, was just blowouts. They had, what she did going to people's homes, she would do that. She was not going to do any cuts, colors. If you want to come get a blowout. And Allie and her brother Michael figured that they would need 20 to 30 customers a day to keep her store open. In her first email blast, Drybar had 1,000 appointments booked in the first 8 hours. The thing just took off. And then Allie made this very important awareness marketing statement. She says, you know, in my grandmother's generation, they went to a salon once a week, maybe to get a beehive. Dick and I know what a beehive is. Okay. And she says, I want to modernize that behavior. She says, women don't go to a full hair salon once a week. You know what they want? They want a quick pick-me-up that will boost their confidence for days. A quality blowout did just that. Up until the day that Allie and her brother Michael opened up Drybar, women had 2 choices to get a professional blowout. They could go to a traditional salon and pay $60 or more for just a blowout, or they could go to a discount chain like Supercuts where you get new graduates and pay less. A blowout at Drybar costs $40.
Can I interrupt you and put I'm on their website, so can I share the screens while you
Yeah,
talk?
yeah, please do.
Okay, keep going.
Like, I'd like to see it. Well, look, okay.
Oh, wait, I gotta bring this
Dry
focus to me.
bar. No. When I talk, will it knock off the screen? The screen will always be up.
No,
Your
I've
screen
got
will
it.
always be up.
My screen will always be up right now, so
Okay,
you should
good.
see my
Please
screen
put it
here.
up. Yeah, because I'd like to see as I'm talking. Okay. There it is. Dry Bar opened their first location in Brentwood, California. So what? But here's what Allie did. She used her marketing genius to Uber the hair salon business. Allie defined the new hair salon. She took the bar vernacular to its extreme. Cashiers are no longer called cashiers. They're called bartenders, people who take your money. Each blowout style, you're showing them then on the screen, is named after a popular cocktail. You order the margarita, you order the martini, whatever it is. And each visit is geared for the client to have fun. Clients are greeted by the bartender, not the cashier, girl at the front desk. They are offered a glass of wine or a glass of champagne to enjoy. There is popular music playing throughout the store. It's a fun atmosphere, just fun. But here is the biggest change that, in my opinion, made Allie's business the success it is today. I'll tell you how she's doing shortly. Up until Allie's Dry Bar, in traditional salons, the client sits facing a mirror so that the client can monitor the progress of their blowout. The washing, the cutting, the styling, the coloring, they're seeing it progress as time goes along. Allie said no. At Dry Bar, the client sits with their back to the mirror. And when they're looking away from the mirror, Allie has and I've been to Dry Bar in Newport Beach, Allie has a bunch of TV screens playing popular, as she calls them, chick flicks with closed captions. Only when the stylist is done with their blowout that the client is then turned around to see their new look. This change alone generates a wow moment for the client. They went in looking one way. The specialist does their magic with the blowout with the specific style. And only when it's done does she turn the client around and say, here's your new look. And the client goes, wow. Outstanding. So where is Dry Bar today? Dry Bar today has 37 locations throughout the United States, and they are now franchising. It costs a minimum of $500,000 to open up one Dry Bar franchise. Their revenue, up until, because they're privately, that I could find, was a little over $25 million for Dry Bar. Not bad for a frustrated mom who wanted to get out of the house and make a few bucks. So what are the small business lessons that I got from Allie Webb's story? Well, there are two. Small business lesson number one. Allie took a traditional industry that people had said cannot be changed or improved upon, and you know what she did? She Ubered it. Rather than competing with the traditional salons with cuts and color, Allie says, no. You want to cut and color? Go there. We do the best blowouts and only blowouts. My question to small business owners, what is the one thing you do in your business that you could Dry Bar it? What is the one thing? Small business lesson number two, where traditional salons had a typical entertainment being the local rumor mill. You talked about who was sleeping with who and that type of thing. Allie made Dry Bar and the blowout a party. And by facing the customers away from the mirror, she capitalized on the user experience. They only see the results when the project is complete, and they go, wow, which is what they paid her $40 for. And the question is, how can you Dry Bar your customer experience? And gentlemen, that is my twin for this week. Thank you, Ali Webb and brother Michael, and thank you, Dry Bar. That's it.
It was quite interesting looking at their website. It been quite gorgeous, actually. And I don't know if you saw. Let me go share again. I don't know if you saw this, but you know, let me know when you got my screen.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Here, pick your poison. Cute as hell. So here's the Dirty Martini. As Frank was saying, they're named after the martini. Well, you have drinks, right? Here's the up teeny. And that's gorgeous looking, huh?
Yeah.
And these are gorgeous. The Shirley Temple for the non-alcoholic drinkers. And there's the kids.
For the kids. For the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's straight up. It would be straight up on the rocks. There you go. You know?
Yeah.
The Manhattan. Okay. So it's really cool what they've done. I don't like their website much because look at how small everything is to read and see. I mean, I love the little interactive graphics, but I really think that that's not a good design. But and they had a bunch of locations as well. The I think I'm already on the menu. But let's see, here's your menu. $10 for the floater. Here's a mudslide treatment. Bay Breeze hydrating shot. So they're obviously doing other things to the hair. They're just not cutting it. You know.
They're upselling. They're upselling additional services.
Exactly.
Right.
So let me see if I can see here what I want. Here's shop. So they're selling different things as well. Upselling.
They have products. They have dry bar products that they also upsell.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I haven't seen the party one. I didn't click on that before, but
you can have a girls' night out party. You can have an engagement party. You can have all sorts of birthday parties. Have your daughter invite their friends, and we'll all come have a Again, it's not your grandmother's hair salon, is it?
No,
they have to. You know, you mentioned they're in Newport Beach, I think you said, in Northern California.
Fashion.
I mean, for the prices that she's charging for different things, you know, they're targeting a very upscale marketplace.
Yeah, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Burlingame, California, Encino. Marina Del Rey, Newport Beach. These are all upscale.
Yeah, it has to be. Because I know what my wife pays for her hair stuff, and then I saw she like $95 to come to your house and blow out your hair. Now that's steep. So I guess the thing I would be concerned if I was buying a franchise, or even if they're doing them, is making sure that in their business plan that they have the right location. That you can't go into. I don't think you go into Palm Desert to open up one of these things, and expect a lot of clientele.
No, I think now on au contraire, out here at North Shore, we could have just a ton of people.
It's a brilliant idea, and she's, I think the marketing that she's done is phenomenal. It really is. It's.
And what I like about her marketing, because I've been on her website and looked at some of her stuff, she never spends any time telling you what the process is, only what the result is.
Yeah.
That's all she talks about, is how you will look and how you will feel when you leave a dry bar. You feel good, you had fun, you had a little drink if you're so inclined, it was upbeat, it was upscale, it was... as she says, go in there once or twice a week. I gave my wife for her birthday a gift certificate to a number of dry bars at a number of sessions at the one in Fashion Island, and my wife called to make an appointment. They were booked. She had to wait for 10 days before she had her first opening.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and again, and the lesson is, Allie, and I'm going to give her brother credit, Allie and Michael. They know what their market is. They don't want the people looking for a $20 blow dry from Supercuts. They said, go to Supercuts. And you can't. And if you want a hair color at the same time, thank you, but you're not our client. They know who their client is. They know what they want. They know how much they're willing to pay, and they know how to reach them and market them. And damn, there's a lot of lessons there, isn't there?
Yep, there are.
And she doesn't try to be all things to all people or do a bunch of extra stuff. Everything is related to the blowout, even the products and the upsells. Blowout, blowout, blowout. I'm impressed.
I think there's lots of puns that could be made on that dry bar blowout thing, and I won't do it because we're on the air.
And me and the Pope, thank you for not doing that.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
All right.
So, anyway.
Well, Dick, you have something to share there, Dick, right? You're going to do an entrepreneur thing.
Well, I just going to take a couple minutes because I know we're going to talk in more detail about WordPress and how intuitive and easy it is to use, but I just want to relate my experience as far as an entrepreneur yesterday. Yesterday, I spent close to 3.5 hours with Peter, and he's helping, not helping, he's really doing redoing my website into WordPress. And we'll get into some of the details of that, so I won't go into that. But I have about a 35, 40-minute ride home from Peter's house to think, and I was thinking, as I'm driving home, is how fortunate I am to have a friend such as Peter that is kind enough to take me under his wing and help me with these things and build these things and keep me in the forefront of technology for my business. And I have some really aggressive plans for using this website once we've got it finalized. So I was thinking as an entrepreneur, and I've said this before, the thing, I met Peter going on 2 years ago, and if I hadn't met him, I would be stuck in probably 2010 technologies and all, and he has dragged me, not kicking and screaming, but he has dragged me, keeping me on the forefront. And I just was thinking to myself, the average small business guy, be it me as just a home-based business or somebody who has 3 or 4 people or 10 or 15, that thinks they are using, technology to drive their business is really kidding themselves. And we've talked about people that have social. They think they have social network, and they think they have experts that help them, but they don't. And I think it behooves the person to educate themselves on, what is the latest technology. I really had never heard of WordPress until Peter brought it up a while back. What is Facebook and Google Plus, like the tip that Peter gave earlier. You need to take the time. You can't farm this out. You need to take the time to learn what is, if you're relying on social networking, what is the best way to get your message out to the customer? What is the best vehicle among the many social networks? If you're relying on your website, what is the state-of-the-art website and all? And then once you find that out, determine which one to use, go find somebody that knows what they're doing and not some hack that says, well, yeah, I know social networking and it doesn't understand any more than I do. So I just wanted to pass that along because I think it's important that you decide, where does technology fit in your business? What technology is it? What is it? Just a website? Okay, how do you get the best website possible to drive visitors to your site and buy from it? Is it social networking? Okay, what is it? Is it Google Plus? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it all the other ones that are out there? And decide on that, which would be best fit you, and then find someone that really knows what you're doing and pay them the money that it takes to do it. It's invaluable. So I just wanted to pass that along, Peter, because I know we're going to talk about the other stuff, but on the ride home, I was really thinking about it. One, how fortunate I am, but two, how does the guy that isn't as fortunate as I am determine where to go? So I think as a strategy, decide how you want to use technology, decide how you want your web be, decide the Facebook, find out the best way to do it, and then go to someone with an educated of what you need, and then have that person who knows what they're doing help you grow your business. So that's what I was going to want to pass along.
Thank you, Dick. You're making me embarrassed now.
No, I don't mean to.
You know, it would be interesting to actually do a podcast from that particular angle. You know, here you are, a business in 2015.
Yeah.
What do you need to know? You know,
Yeah.
and just focus on kind of what do they need to know on the baby steps to get there. That might be interesting.
It might be. It made the ride go by pretty quickly because I was thinking about all this. I was driving along in my non-air conditioned car at 100 degrees outside, and my wet boonie hat on to keep me cool.
Well, people don't probably know what that is. You want to tell them?
Yeah, well, it's Peter. I live in Coachella Valley, and I walk pretty much every morning. And one morning I was out walking, and I got attacked by a bird. And I mean, it hit my head and hit it hard. And I was telling Peter the story. Let me go get the hat.
I'm just cleaning up stuff here too.
So Peter said, "Wear this," which I did. And then after a while, when it got to be summer, he said, "You know, you can use that to cool yourself off." And I said, "Well," he said, "just put it underwater and soak it and go for your walk." And I thought to myself, "Yeah, that's going to be great. Going to have rain dripping down in my face." But, you know, he's never led me astray yet, so I did it. And it absolutely works. So now I've got this car, the air conditioning goes in the middle of the summer, which is out here, that's a disaster. And I was going 35, 40-minute drive each way. So I got my boonie hat out, soaked it, put it on, and actually was not that uncomfortable driving up and back. So that's just
must have been quite the sight.
Oh, yeah. I was expecting a cop to pull me over. What's this guy doing?
What's this guy doing? They really work well. Of course, it's evaporation technology, and with the brim, what happens is it's evaporating and it's cool, and the cool air comes down, gets into your carotid arteries, keeps your brain cool. So it's really quite the technology. Everybody just thought it's a hat that you can stick shotgun shells or whatever in.
Yeah.
Who would want to do that next to their brain anyway? I mean, that's just crazy. You know, insect repellent, yes. You know, if you're fishing lures, yes. But, you know, don't stick live rounds next to your brain. That's not a good thing. Good strategy.
Right.
All right. So let's, so we, well, you start, Dick. I went ahead and converted the site, and then you had in your mind what you wanted, and it's WordPress is of course so easy to use and so intuitive.
So simple. I don't know why it took you that long to learn it. You know? We, like I said, I was out there at Salton Sea with Peter, and I put together page by page information I'd like to share, and I've changed. I have a website that we did in WYSIWYG, and Peter taught me how to do it, and I did quite a bit of it because of his teachings. But it never really was a very active website. It was more of an online brochure that I would refer people to, then get up to my Legal Shield page. And in listening to what Peter's been doing with WordPress, and I gotta say, I've said this before, the amount of hours that he's put in learning this is just amazing. And I sat there for 3.5 hours, and he recorded some lessons for me, and I took some notes and some mental notes. And it's really very difficult. It really is. But so, anyways, we went page by page, and he put it in there. He aligned it, organized it, formatted it, made it look really nice. And I tend to use this as a driver for my business, to drive people to the website to get customers, and that's what I tried to do when I put the information page by page on it. Is pretty much ask for an order type of a thing, which
call to action on every page.
Yeah, call to action, and I feel good about it. And I've got a little bit of a homework assignment I have to do for my home page, and I would be ready to go. So it was quite an experience. It's quite involved, and during the afternoon, about halfway through it, Peter kind of gave me an aha moment when he's lining up the information and creating new lines and stuff. He said, it's just like you're looking at a blank page and you're designing the page, but you're doing it on their site with all the complications that come into it. And we got talking about that, and I said, it's strange because, you look at a blank page and design it. That's what we did 50, 60 years ago, and it seems like every new technology, every new process, it may be a different vehicle to do it, but it's still the same concept of how you're going to design something. Just like we say, Facebook is no different than going to your local butcher 30, 40 years ago and making friends there and talking with them, but you're now doing it on Facebook with more viewers, obviously. So as much as things change, some of the basics don't change. And that gave me a much better insight of what I should be looking at when I get into, and I learn some, and I go and start changing things, is I'm looking at a page, and I want to design that page. I want to take something in, put something out. Now I have to learn how to do that. So, but it cleared up conceptually in my mind when you said that, Peter. I told you that last night. So.
Yeah, let me share a screen. Let me know when you got that.
Yep.
Okay. One of the big challenges are you're working with a template, and here we have what they call a sidebar running down, which we'd like to have on every page, but this template doesn't allow that. So I'm going to have to try to figure out why. One thing is nice, and you can see we have no sidebar here. One thing that is nice about this is this particular approach that Dick's taking is we have these steering pages. So you don't have to wade your way through the site to find what you really want. If we're selling small business, let's read more about small business. And presto bango, you got a video on every page, and verbiage that's well laid out, and the plans and all that kind of good stuff. And then we can go back, home here, and we have everything in the footers. But what Dick was talking about is this is the dashboard, which is behind the scenes. And when you look at a page, we'll look at the About page. So here's what the About page looks like. That doesn't look like a page, does it? And here is the About page. So all of this is this. How scary is that, Frank?
Very, very scary.
But it's so intuitive, Frank, and it's so easy to use. Now, so this is the image. These are the words next to the image, and these are the words below the image. So here's the image, the words next to the image, and the words below the image. Which, by the way, Dick, we probably want to break that up some into 3 sentences each,
Yeah.
Easier to read. But so Dick theoretically can now go in and edit these things. So you wanted to edit the words. Here are the words next to the picture. We can add stuff. We can bold it. We can add media, pictures, all that stuff. You don't get to see what it looks like. You can preview the changes, however. So I think 50% of our time yesterday was going between updating, previewing, seeing what it looked like, and that's not what we want coming back to here. Would that be a fair statement, Dick?
That's a very fair statement, yeah.
Yeah, and so we can, that's the bad news. The good news is that actually Dick can be logged in at the same time, and I can be logged in at the same time, and he can be working on one part of the site, and I can be working on another. But, the challenge is to get Dick to learn about posts and how to do posts, which are essentially blog posts.
Right.
And those will show up on the sidebar on the front page. And when I figure out how to get a sidebar on the rest of them, however that is, here's your recent posts. So you can just jump right in there. Anybody can read what he has to say, and you can actually respond to it. Typically, I think we'll have to look up how we do that on the post stuff. But there's a response button. Plus, you can share this if you like it. You can share this data with any of your particular social medias that you have. This is your own individual one. So if you find some good stuff on here, we can share it with people, which I think is starting to make it more of an interactive site.
Right.
Which is where we're trying to drive people to. If I want to be an associate, here's exactly what I need to know. and down here was
That's a 30-minute webinar.
Right, at his place that you can look at. So
Right.
I think this starts to really shine itself out and do what you want to do.
Yes.
I even put in a testimonial.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah.
So that's the frustration of WordPress yesterday. Was it just isn't what it looks like, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And from a small business lesson, what I was talking about earlier is there's no way that a small business owner should or could learn what you've learned on WordPress. So one of the things of stress is do what you do best, then find someone to do the things that you can't do, and that way, if you focus on sales, you just drive the sales, and then have someone working the other things that to do it. The second is decide a strategy. My first website that we built didn't have a strategy other than my goal was to not have to go through 10-word URL to get to the website, and so that was the goal, and it was accomplished. But beyond that, I didn't have a strategy. It was kind of a dormant, I have a website type of thing. Now I can say I have a living website, and that's my strategy going forward. Based upon a couple weeks ago when we were talking about my business being losing momentum and me not being quite with it and type of thing, it's part of the strategy to get out of it and focus on doing something positive. So I think there's a strong lesson to small business people what we're talking about today.
Yeah, something Frank has always said is that people will pick up their smartphone and start looking first. Right. And with the freedom of movement around like that, a website becomes, I think, even more important than the brick and mortar store does. Right. Because they're looking mobile.
Yeah.
And so you better have a site that is there. Yeah. One other thing I want to share, one thing I didn't share and I need to share here. Let me know when you got that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all of the various pages that we have, and you can make a new page by adding a new page, which is kind of nice. But one of the things that I showed Dick was the plugins are what makes this thing fly. And here are all the plugins you have to put in there and get all the right stuff going on. So here's an update, one that needs updating. We updated yesterday, so we'll update again today. And so here's all the plugins that I use to make this site happen. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And when you go to get plugins, there's literally tens of thousands of them. That's the good news. The bad news is there's literally tens of thousands of them. And many of them don't work too well. Yeah. And many of them carry spam and malware and a bunch of other stuff. So you really are subject to when you find the ones that works, that's it. Now, you also had to love this, as I showed Dick. Here's your contact form, right? So if you actually go back to the pages and let's go edit the contact form, you would expect to see, Frank, right? Name, address, whatever, right?
Yes.
Contact him?
Of course.
Of course. And when we edit the little box here, that's all you see.
Wow.
Isn't that a little scary? And that's called a short code. So many of the plugins, you actually have to go to the plugin first, and you can add new contact forms, and here's the contact form. And this is what they automatically generate for you. Your name, your email address, the subject matter, text message, and the submit button. And this is contact form number 1, which we can put in, the name of contact, Richard Bentley. But here's the short code that you copy and then just stick in the page where we were before, and we'll make that form show up, which is really not intuitive, but we can take a look at the changes. We didn't make any, but we can take a look at it, and that's what it looks like. Now, how did you get all of that from that short code? So you got to get used to building these things with short codes, and it's not WYSIWYG, and that's for sure. And like I say, I could have done all this in an hour, in WYSIWYG, where it just takes you forever, seemingly, to get these things set up. And people charge, and I heard this and I didn't believe it. I said, why would you charge so much to set a site up? Well, you have to go get all these plugins and get them all, authorized and everything else. It can take several hours. So people charge $250, $300 just to set a site up. Period. Not, and of course, theme-wise, and I'm not. This happened to us last week. We changed themes. Right now we're using this theme, but we could also look at these. This is the one that hosed us up, by the way. So don't ever do the Business Guru. And I should probably delete the darn thing. But nonetheless, we tried all these various themes until we got one we liked. But you can go out and look for more. You can buy premium themes. This one actually has a pro. We can purchase the pro one. We might have to if we want sidebars. I'll find that out today, I hope. But again, WordPress. Wow, so easy, so intuitive. Not, and I continually, I was like a broken record yesterday, was I not, Dick?
Yeah.
It's so easy, so intuitive. Anybody can do it. Even a caveman.
Yeah.
Remember those ads, right?
Yeah.
It's so simple a caveman can do it.
Yeah.
They made a whole movie out of that too.
Yeah, they did.
Clever. There are very few commercials that ever became a movie.
Yeah.
They were one of them.
TV show too.
What's that?
They had a TV show too.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but it was funny.
Yeah.
I know, Frank, you're just biting your tongue with us here, biding your time. I know it. Control-Alt-Delete time.
Yeah, you guys. I love when you get into that minutia. That just excites the heck. But again, and I joke about it, but it's important, and yet I don't want to learn it.
Right, and
I really don't. I don't want to learn it. It's not my thing. I have no desire. I'll find people who can help me or do it. Well, I'll go to WordPress because it's easy and intuitive. I'll do that. That type of thing.
Well, it's so easy and intuitive. Anybody can do it. Not,
Right.
And I think that was Dick's whole point, was that in fact, having to see us go through all of that was a wowie. Was it not, Dick?
It absolutely was, and I think it's all the things that we say, but the one thing it seems to be is it's probably necessary to keep up with the website world if you're going to use a website to drive business. So you need to learn that fact, and then to Frank's point, he doesn't want to learn it. Fine, if it's necessary and you don't want to learn it, find Peter Brusso, or and he'll do it. Or find somebody that understands it. But the key points are that it seems to be the state of the art of web design right now. And if you're going to have a state of the art website, you better have someone that knows how to do that. And that's kind of the thing we're talking about. Yesterday was a big eye opener, because I expected, when I went out to learn WYSIWYG, I think it took maybe 2 or 3 hours, but I was able to start doing things on my website, because Peter, and I went out yesterday expecting to have Peter show me how to do it, and I realized that there's just no way he could show me in one day. It's something I'm going to have to, muddle around with and talk with him and all. So but it's a necessary evil, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
One good thing about them is, well, once you understand the plugins and you've already paid the price on the learning curve of what not to do, once you get it set up, then it's fun to run it, to add blog, put events up there, let other users in your community put stuff up there. I think that's where, Frank, I think that you have somebody put up a site and then you just learn how to tweak it and add content and stuff like that.
There you go.
And WordPress is perfect for that vehicle. And if you screw it up, the guy can sign on. It's always in the cloud. It's on the web. I can work on a WordPress site anywhere in the world. Well, assuming you have internet connectivity of any kind of speed. But so there are some. That's our WordPress update. So there you go. Anybody have any questions at all?
No.
Go any other place? Go another place.
That's a wrap.
4 minutes. That's a wrap. It's 10 o'clock. All right, hang on, guys. Yep. Good podcast. Hang on.